Well, what really stands out with this movie from the rest of my films is, well, first off, it's a feature-length film. All the rest of mine have been short films up to this point. But story-wise, it's the first one that's not a war film, really. Most of the other ones I've done is war films or a spy film that I did one. It does take place just after World War II, though, in the 1940s. But it's more of an adventure and not really so much as war, but having normal people into the equation. Now, a couple of the characters did serve in the military. I have a lot of, information. I have a lot of knowledge in that department, so it really ties into that. I like history, and I like putting it into the films I do. I love period pieces. So, the way it's different, though, is, this isn't a war film like Saving Private Ryan this time. It's more along the lines of Indiana Jones, set in the same sort of era, but more on the adventure side of things. Character development in a longer movie. Short films, you don't have as much character development throughout those. You can, but through what I've done, I haven't had much character development in my war films. But with this film, I wanted something more realistic, and characters have to be real, people have to be real, and that was something that was a little challenging for me as a writer, but I overcame that with some assistance with one of my friends, Paul Mallory, who was helping in the screenplay. I really appreciated the assistance and helping get the characters flowing and changing from point A to point B, and I think the story shows a really dramatic change between all the characters and their lack of on some characters possibly. This movie connects to me on a personal level because movie making is my passion, and I really love just the whole feel of it, the magic, the bringing people together, working on them, and seeing it on the final screen with all your friends and family and seeing what you made. It's really great, and I really like to put personal touch into my film, and James Hawthorne, my character, has a lot to do with just me. I put a lot of my incentives and drive into him and into his personality. What drives him, he doesn't want to give up. He keeps going, and that's what I'm trying to do with this movie, is make sure it becomes a thing. I want it to happen with all my heart, and I'm working hard to make sure that happens, just like James does to find the treasure throughout the film. He works hard as he can with the group that he brings to this island in search of this treasure. So my character is James Hawthorne. He was a British archaeologist and professor at the British Institute of Archaeology. He had a brother before the war, and they were separated during the war in different units, and his brother went to the Pacific, and they thought he was lost during the war. Now James, he gets this journal that's from his brother. In it, the journal leads to a certain treasure on an island. This leads James to obviously really wanting to find this treasure, not only just for the adventure as an archaeologist to be able to recover artifacts stolen by the Japanese during the war, but as an effort to have a connection with his brother, one final connection with his brother, finding the treasure not just for himself and the world, but for his brother, and to make it worthwhile. And I think that's what really drives my character through the entire story, to just keep going. Right, so a lot of movies played into the creation of this film, inspired me, and made me want to make my own that was different and original, but you can definitely see some of the flares and inspiration upon me from these movies when you see the film. Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, King Kong being a big one, Atlantis, they all have impressed me with the storylines and the quality and the way they're done. I love Steven Spielberg's works a lot, and Jurassic Park was a big part of my childhood. But I love adventure movies. I love adventure movies, and that's why I like so many of those kind of movies. And so you'll definitely see them, and sometimes a couple certain homages throughout the movie from these sort of movies that I have been very inspired from, and I watch all the time to keep me inspired when writing script and working on this film. I got started making movies primarily because of my father. I was always at the opposite end of a camera like I am now. He had a Sony camera that he basically documented my entire life, and so I spent a lot of time around a camera, and we always watched movies together all the time, and I always saw magic in movies, and from a very early age I thought that's what I want to do, and my father definitely helped push that. He helped me when I was really young. I think it was when I was 5 or 6 we made our first stop motion film out of Legos. It was a Lego Jurassic Park kit from the 3rd movie, as that was just coming out a year earlier. And so we had all the pieces, and we made a little stop motion film with sound effects from the movie, and the background was a painting of a forest in my house, and it was really entertaining. And it's kind of funny to, if you look back at that, knowing that that's kind of a little bit of the origins of my filmmaking career, and how ever since then I've just progressed more and more with my career, and especially my father helping me along with that career at every turn. To me, being the director isn't just being the guy that's in charge and, you know, as some people would have you, the guy with a megaphone yelling at people and getting a latte from some assistant. As the director, you may write, you could write the script yourself, but if not, you're taking a script and you're looking at it and you're envisioning it on the screen for people to see. Now, whether that script comes from you or someone else or it's a book, there's a story there, and you have to figure out a way to convey it in film and to show people in a way that will be enjoyable and entertaining and make sense. Now, I love my job as director because I just love doing that. I love looking at stories and seeing how they play out on the screen. I love working with people, being out on the set. I love, having actors and working with them and, figuring out what works best. And then I love going into the editing process and, seeing it all to come together and cutting it up and, watching as it all becomes a movie in front of your eyes from just, footage that you took with, your friends or, the crew, which all the crew becomes your friends when you're on set. I don't like to be, the kind of guy that's just bossy, I'll take, inputs from everyone because, if you don't take people's inputs in the film, then their characters or their positions won't be as good as they could be. The more you can get their help on their characters and how they can help the film, the better your film will become. And I just enjoy working with people like that. The people in my life have a great impact on my films and eventually my film career. I have great best friends and a great family and a wonderful girlfriend that support me throughout the entire way. Not only do they support me through, reading my works and making sure they're good or not, but they also act in them and help me out a whole lot. And I always appreciate their assistance in every way possible and all their support, and I wouldn't be anywhere around here without them. On the British side of the work that I do, I think that really, honestly, I believe that comes back from the fact that instead of like Pokemon, watching that when I was little, I watched Thomas the Tank Engine. And if anyone knows Thomas the Tank Engine, it was primarily an English TV show. So I grew up with English accents a lot, impressed into my brain basically when I was learning. And then it just progressed from there, I suppose. I'm not exactly sure, but I've traced it back, and I believe that's the furthest I can trace it back. And then moving forward to enjoying reenacting and then finding World War II reenacting. And in World War II reenacting, I found a wonderful unit, reenacting unit to join, and they were a primarily British unit. Only the commander is English, but the fact that it was a British unit definitely brought up the history of me looking up the English roots of the film. And I do have English roots in my family as well, on my mother's side. So I guess that's the best way I can trace it back to them, and just the fact that, you know, they're not covered as much as the Americans, so it's something different. You know, the future is, you know, never guaranteed where it will go, but I want to work hard to do everything I can to be in the film industry. I can't see myself doing anything else, really. This is my passion. I want to see these sort of things go down. I want to work with them. I want to see the behind the scenes. I want to see how the magic is done. I want to work with the magic. I want to make the magic. You know, filmmakers are magicians of the 21st century and the 20th century too, but I really want to work hard and make sure that that's where I can go. I want to become a film director. You know, whether I make it, you know, famous or not, I want to make sure I have fun doing it and have works that I'm proud of. And working with this film this summer, I think that's a very good start to a very great career in the film industry, and not just a great career, but a fun one as well.
And that's a wrap.